Yeah, we are on the LogiPharma Podcast with a very special Blue Yonder special. I'll let you both introduce yourself. We're going to be having some great chats about AI-driven strategies for resilience, efficiency, digital transformation. But yeah, let's meet our two fabulous guests.
Okay, so thanks so much, Megan. It's great to meet you and great to talk to you today. I'm Tiffany Brewer, and I lead Life Sciences Industry Advisory at Blue Yonder.
Good afternoon, Tiffany. Nice to meet you. My name is Sudarshan Seshadri. I'm responsible for go-to-market for data science and generative AI initiatives at Blue Yonder.
Amazing. It'd be great to hear a bit more about you two. How long have you worked at Blue Yonder? What's your role like? All the kind of fun stuff, I guess. I'll kind of start with you, Tiffany, there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been with Blue Yonder for about 3.5 years, and I have throughout that time, I've really just been focusing on building and growing our life sciences practice. I come from a background in life sciences within supply chain. So my background is very close to that of our customers. I previously worked for Pfizer and Medtronic doing all kinds of things across supply chain. And, in my day-to-day life, I'm talking to customers and prospective customers quite a bit, as well as working internally with our product teams, our marketing teams, and our customer success teams.
And Megan, I can go next.
Yeah, amazing.
This is my third stint at Blue Yonder in the last 26 years.
Wow.
I've been in supply chain. So I came around this time about a year and a half ago, specifically to focus on generative AI and now building agents, working with early adopter lighthouse customers on specific pain points and problems, and see how we can bring agents to bear to kind of give them the results they're looking for. So yeah.
Absolutely. I guess maybe we start there then, with AI and kind of digital transformation. Where do you see AI making the biggest impact in pharma supply chain today? Is that kind of a bit of a loaded question there, or is there kind of, I guess you're the expert. I'll hand over to yourself.
Yeah, so, just to kind of start out with, what do we see from our customers, specifically in pharma, right? So I think the biggest changes that we're seeing are in the everyday. How do we help them translate, or how does AI help them translate all of the complexity that pharmaceutical companies are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, whether it's with those demand shifts, the compliance constraints, and the visibility that they really need across their very global business. Those are the impacts that we're seeing. And I know, Sudarshan, you're going to go a little bit deeper into that.
Right. And to add to what Tiffany said, we've seen in the past few years predictive AI and AI/ML making a real difference in pharma, where, with machine learning technology, we've been able to predict, forecast demand shifts, flag cold chain risks, and even predict stock imbalances. I think what makes it more exciting now for us is this move towards agentic AI, as we call it. So instead of just predicting issues, agents are, always on. They stay inside a network. They can track those signals. They can surface, where there are expiry clusters, potential for regional stockouts, delivery or compliance risks, even before planning teams can actually see that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I've hosted this podcast for 2 years, and it's kind of been one of these ones that you go to the event and all anyone ever wants to talk about is AI. So it's kind of really nice to kind of compare it to a couple of years ago where everyone was a bit wary, whereas now everyone's kind of understanding a bit more there. It'd be great to kind of ask yourselves kind of how can AI and end-to-end visibility help companies shift from that reactive to kind of more proactive supply chain management? I guess that's the big shift we're seeing.
Yeah, so I think, we've kind of, to your point, Megan, we've been talking for a long time
Mm,
about that just resilience, which
yeah.
is that shift from the reactive to the proactive. And I think it really starts with pulling data from all of the data silos that exist in an organization to a shared view that allows each planner, each manager, and really anyone throughout the supply chain to have the ability to model scenarios before that crisis occurs, right, Sudarshan?
Correct, correct. And once that data is harmonized, here's some echo. W- Once the data is harmonized and the single pane of glass is established, what we can now see is these agents can quietly run what if scenarios behind the scenes and really hand out ready to execute playbooks to planners. And then moving the needle from just providing alerts instead of providing them with playbooks with prescriptive actions along with explainability whenever they need it, right? I think that's a real game changer, right? And the key to all of this is, of course, data, right? Good quality data. That's what it's built on. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I guess we've seen so much progress. As we said, it's been kind of in the pipeline, but now we're kind of seeing it all kind of come to fruition. It'd be great to kind of hear if you've got any examples, I guess, of kind of like real life insights into where it's AI's prevented disruption or unlocked growth. Well, now I'm hearing my echo, but yeah, any kind of example like that. I guess it's so fun to kind of look back at a time where it was just an idea to now where there's concrete examples of its success.
Yeah. The first one that I'm thinking of is one where there was a crisis that hit, and our customer was really able to determine where all of their inventory across the globe was at the time that that crisis hit. And you can imagine with a pharmaceutical supply chain, they have inventory everywhere, right? Because the nature of the business is so global. There are manufacturers, there are suppliers, there are CMOs really across the globe. There's transportation occurring across the globe. And, they had that ability to see where is everything within my supply chain at really a kind of the drop of a hat, right? And they could then say, okay, now that we know where this is, we have this crisis, what can we do? And do we need to do anything? So maybe in some cases it was fine, it was not going to impact a specific customer order. They were able to tell this is not going to impact my supply chain or my end customer, my patient, until X date. So we're good here. But with the rest of this inventory that is going to have an impact, I can make a decision as to what do I do? Do I go to my CMO directly? Do I pull from a different warehouse that's not impacted? So that I just love that example because it's so real and so important.
And if you were to build on the same example, Megan, imagine a situation where a team of agents can essentially simulate diversion strategies in the background, right? They can proactively recommend where you want to read out the stock to, from lower risk markets to outbreak zones, really cutting response times from days to hours. And that really makes a difference, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I guess with the industry, you have to be able to kind of predict all these risks that just haven't happened yet, and kind of having this tool to be able to just find something at a drop. I wish I had that for just kind of my day-to-day keys before I leave the house, just to be able to pinpoint something. I mean, they get found eventually, but to be able to have something to just locate it like that, and I guess risk makes up so much parts of kind of planning for the unknown when you don't even know what to think. I guess it'd be great to kind of go into that a bit more, I guess, with real-time risk management. That's so critical, and how technology is helping to identify deviations that early. You gave that great example, but I guess any advice for the industry would be great.
What I would say is we have seen in pharma, even small deviations can cascade into big impacts in terms of recalls or patient risks. I think with this advent of agentic technology, now we have the ability to track, monitor inventory at various grains as they move through a network, figure out what is the potential impact of some of these events, kind of simulate some scenarios in the background, provide, like I mentioned earlier, descriptive playbooks to planners, and really orchestrate decisions back to systems of record at the end of the day. So you think about it, being able to sense a problem, analyze the impact of that problem, run scenarios to predict what can happen or provide corrective actions, and then orchestrate the decision back into multiple systems of record, orchestrate the end-to-end workflow. I think that will be critical as we bring AI and agents to bear to solve real-world problems in a meaningful way to track outcomes, right? To essentially reduce the impact, reduce the exposure, right, and make sure that drugs and medicines reach reach patients or healthcare facilities at the earliest. Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything to add with that one, Tiffany? I guess it's such a big kind of.
I think Sudarshan just really hit the nail on the head. I mean, I don't have anything specific to add there. I think he covered it.
Oh yeah, I think that was a pretty damn good answer there. Anyway,
Yes.
I guess that's a kind of big scale kind of risk. That's so getting risk right and kind of getting the unknowns right is so important. But I guess AI has such a big impact on our day to day now, especially like just the odd things in the day to day. I know whenever like someone's looking up a recipe, they're going to ChatGPT rather than just kind of Googling it now, which is still mind boggling to me. But it'd be great to kind of know how AI is kind of then helping in the day to day in you guys' industry. Kind of what role is digital technology playing in boosting kind of warehouse productivity, for example, or ensuring kind of product integrity, compliance, all these little kind of usually manual jobs. I guess these are being revitalized.
Yeah, I think actually I love your example about the recipe because I happened to do that just the other day
It's
because
mad.
I knew that I just needed something very simple, and I
Mm.
in the past I had that challenge of, hey, I have to scroll through all
All
of this.
this instructions. Oh my
Yes.
God. It takes so long. I'm like,
Yes.
I just need to know what to put in it.
Yes, that's exactly right. And that's right. I just needed the ingredients. There were four and I just needed those.
Mm.
And that is that simplicity that AI brings, right? So, I spend a lot of time thinking about the fear that
Mm.
folks have around AI. And, when you just think about that example, I wasn't replaced. I still had to make the recipe. I still had to buy the ingredients, but it just made it easier, right? And so, I think like we talk to our clients a lot about things like, hey, let's have a tool that
Mm.
allows you to ask a very real question. How do I do this? It's getting your workflows, your your processes into something that is very easy to ask the agent, how do I do this? What am I supposed to be doing? And that is one of the absolute easiest day-to-day things that you can improve, right? We have other agents that are saying, hey, why was my inventory impacted and which order is this going to impact? And, those are the kinds of things where I can see, okay, this is what's happening. What do I do about it? And I know Sudarshan, you have even deeper thoughts there. So
Definitely.
He's got
Definitely.
more recipes to kind of show us that
No,
that's right.
ChatGPT is showing.
yeah. So I would say context, right, Tiffany and Megan, to think about it, AI needs the right context, and with the right context and data, with guardrailed instructions and frameworks, they can do things at a much faster cadence, and obviously assist the human make better decisions, faster decisions, the way I think about it. And specifically to your question about warehouse operations, right? We are seeing agents act as co-pilots inside the warehouse. For example, in a pharmaceutical warehouse, they can validate every scan, every batch, take at temperature logs that are flowing in near real time. They can turn standard operating procedures into guardrails. So compliance isn't just audited later, but it's enforced while people do the work. I mean, there are some, very good examples where agents can really assist and improve overall productivity, make sure that work is performed with the quality standards that, companies expect it to be done. And more importantly, I think one of the biggest things that we see with agents is um, uh, uh, somewhat of a fear of adoption initially with practitioners and planners, and that's arguably real because they feel that that these agents will be able to do a lot more, and sometimes they may make mistakes. I think as part of this journey, as companies embrace AI and agentic AI, agents have to build trust. They have to be repeatable, consistent in the way they operate. They're able to orchestrate workflows, build trust over time that they can complete these tasks reliably and faster than a human, and essentially free up their time for more value added work, right? So I think that's where I would see how, as agents progress and we drive adoption into day-to-day operations in real supply chains, pharmaceutical companies, for example, how do they essentially work alongside a human, assist a human, make them more productive, right, in order to complete their task and drive the outcomes that companies seek.
Absolutely. I guess that kind of sparks something in me as well when I'm thinking about kind of the industry. Is it changing how you guys, how the hiring process is for kind of young talent? Is it kind of then kind of adapting, it trickles all the way down to there for the type of talent that you're attracting?
I think one thing that is coming straight away is even for experienced
Mm,
people, knowing how to prompt.
yeah,
Learn to
definitely.
prompt and prompt to learn. So it's basically knowing how to prompt, pass the right prompts, provide the right context, so these agents can, uh, provide reliable answers, consistent prescriptive answers that you're looking for. Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we actually we all took a training at Blue Yonder on prompting, right? And just kind of based on what the need is. Sometimes you might need to, get a bunch of different expert opinions and compare them. Or, sometimes you may need that simple recipe that we just talked about, right? So it's being able to ask that right question. And when you think about it, and what our customers need to do, and especially in the pharmaceutical realm, they've always needed to ask the right question, right? They've always needed to find an expert and find the right information, but now it's more at their fingertips. So, they're really able to, when you think of new hires, entry level hires, they're really able to say, hey, I need to find out because I'm brand new. I just don't know, and able to become more effective right from the start.
And I think, Tiffany, you touched on an important point, which I call as institutional knowledge, right? So as the new hires come on board, the next generation of workforce comes on board, which are used to the likes of ChatGPT and Perplexity, they would expect similar experience in the enterprise world without having years of experience. How can they quickly come up to speed and become productive and really have this context-aware digital assistant that's available always to assist you, right?
Absolutely. I guess that's quite a nice kind of full circle there of the kind of very top of the unknown all the way trickling down to the bottom. I am about to hit you both with some kind of big questions that'd be quite great. It'd be kind of good to, I think AI comes with so many misconceptions as well. Everyone's kind of seems to think it has a certain idea about it. Like, it'd be great to kind of hear if there's any kind of common misconceptions you'd like to kind of clear up when it comes to the pharma supply chain, AI more specifically, or any general kind of pain points. This is a safe space on the podcast.
Yeah. I my first job was in the pharmaceutical world, right? So, when you think about that, everything that has come after it has always kind of been based in that context. And I when I look back, I'm always thinking of, folks might think that it's slow moving, slow to adopt technology, but that is the misconception that I would say, because when you think about the technology that pharmaceutical companies are adopting, it maybe it's not the exact technology that we're used to a retail company adopting, or a CPG company adopting, because their goal is something different. Their goal is compliance. Their goal is speed to really get to their patient, right? Like that's going to be the end goal of every single pharmaceutical company. They want to improve patient lives. And so they may just be adopting different technologies or in a different way than some of the other companies that we're used to kind of hearing more about. So to me, that's the biggest misconception, or those are the biggest misconceptions.
And what I would also add to that, Megan, is companies are experimenting in the pharmaceutical space with agentic AI, especially when a lot of regulatory documentation, everything is not in a very structured format. How do you then marry that with transactional data, with planning data that's relevant to supply chain, to identify risks, to provide them recommendations, to provide them opportunities where they exist, right? So I think they are experimenting with, how AI, agentic AI can help them. And like I mentioned earlier, like agents don't replace humans, they essentially scale human judgment safely by codifying the domain expertise that we talked about. And they're able to continuously learn from operated decisions. And I think that's what makes these assistants or agents very different compared to traditional software, where decisions taken are not quite, remembered and recollected when needed. And that's why I mentioned the word context. So knowing the context helps the agent understand there was a similar event, a similar occurrence, and based on this, here's what the planner, he or she did, to take corrective action. And this is within the approved guardrails. So having that context helps these agents make intelligent decisions to kind of, then orchestrate the workflow from there on. So I would say companies are starting to look at, how agents can really help augment their existing workflows, reduce the decisioning time, reduce the time that they spend analyzing analyzing issues that are causing impacts, and drive corrective actions sooner than later. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I guess while I've got you both here, I have to ask, because Blue Yonder is we love chatting to you guys whenever we're at LogiPharma, just because it's always so lovely to chat to us, but you are industry leaders. So it'd be great to hear what emerging technologies do you think, kind of, we've touched on AI, but which kind of new technologies are going to kind of reshape the pharma supply chain in the next kind of 3 to 5 years? What should people be looking out for?
I think generally I would say as many companies move to what we call as self-orchestrating supply chains, this notion of specialized domain agents that can essentially monitor your demand, your inventory, quality, logistics. They can collaborate with humans and between themselves. They can, like I mentioned, share context, negotiate trade-offs in real time. It's going to be a game changer for, across industries, and I would say specifically for life sciences, where supply is, arguably global, fragile, and very highly regulated, right? So we see a lot of potential in this space as agentic AI comes to bear. The key would be to, focus on, picking up the right use cases, testing these agents, making sure they're consistent, building trust with end users, planners, and operators, and making sure they're ready for day-to-day use.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that because of all of the complexity that we've talked about really throughout our conversation with you, Megan, there's the regulatory, there's the interactions with third-party payers like insurance companies, governments. There's a global supply chain of suppliers and CMOs across the world, and then customers that have to be served across the globe. And when you think about it, like Sudarshan was just saying, folks need help to manage this type of complexity, right? They need an assistant in that agentic AI. And I think, between things like agentic AI, like a network visibility and collaboration and resolution tool that really allows, pharmaceutical companies to see, respond, and act across the globe. Those are the things that we're really going to see over the next 3 to 5 years just increase more and more.
Yeah, we've got the kind of help of having kind of our LogiPharma team, and that's kind of on their radar for the next year. So good.
Great.
And last question, if my thing will behave. What's one piece of advice you'd give to leaders just starting out on this kind of digital transformation journey?
So, the piece of advice that I would say is, one, don't be afraid of technology, right? I think it's something that is here to augment the great things that pharmaceutical companies are already doing. And two, build a roadmap that allows you to say, hey, we're here. Maybe we're advanced. Maybe we are working off of Excel today. And, wherever that starting point is, let's work from there and move forward in a way that you can get quick wins across the process. And maybe they're less quick as you move on, but, just go at your own pace and adopt technology as you go.
Right. And I would just add one point to that, which is to start with well-bounded use cases. Start with the end user in mind, the personas in mind. their pain points, and then work backwards to see how agents can be brought in to understand what they do today, what kind of data they have access to, and what problems or goals they need to accomplish. And then let them prove their value out quickly. And like I said, start small, move fast, get user feedback, build trust, provide explainability. And then it becomes easier. Once you build that trust, these agents, you can scale them across functions in supply chain, across planning, manufacturing, and distribution. That becomes much easier.
Well, thank you both so much for your time. I think this has been an absolutely brilliant episode. Everyone will really enjoy having listened to that. But Blue Yonder, we're not done. We're going to be back for episode 2, talking all things sustainability. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But thank you both for your time. It's been so lovely having you on.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, Megan.